I think any leader that can, has a good grasp and a good management for tolerance for adversity and uncertainty, that's going to take them a long way. It's like the first curveball you get, if you crack, then you're in trouble. And when those curveballs come, you just, you catch it and you figure out a way to work around it, and you carry on. And there might be a couple sleepless nights here or there, or there might be a couple lost ways here and there, a couple pivots, but it's part of the game, and it's coming. If you're in a leadership position, eventually you're going to have that tolerance for adversity.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools. They start with something small.
And never get your entire organization if you don't pull off operations. Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are going to have our last today.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Delegate That podcast, where we discuss the art and science of delegation, business management, and leadership. I am your host, Adam Labar, and I am really looking forward to having a good conversation with Shawn Stratton. Just the pre-talk we had tells me that there's going to be a lot of value added here, so I'm really looking forward to digging in and learning a lot from you. So, Shawn, if you can, please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation. My name's Shawn Stratton, and I'm based currently in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. But I have a cost reduction business. It's called Schooley Mitchell, and we operate all over U.S. and Canada, working with businesses all over, and basically saving money on their operating costs. That's what we focus on. We have 16 categories and growing of main operating costs. And we want businesses to focus on their core work, and we want them to save money where they can. Most people are overspending on their operating expenses, and they don't know it and they don't realize it. Or if they do know it, they're too busy to do anything about it. And so that's where we come in and help them out with that. And our head office is based in Ontario, just north of Toronto. And we have 150 staff there, 75 analysts that are category experts. And we work with businesses with that. And essentially, saving them money over time. So I'm happy to get into that over the conversation.
Boy, business has to be terrible because nobody likes saving money, right? Nobody likes to do all that. So no,
that's right. I always tell people it's a good news topic to be in.
Yes, no kidding. Yeah, that's one of those things that if you can bring some positivity to somebody's life, that's a way to go. And saving people money is definitely by far positivity. So I love it.
Do you feel overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time? It's time to reclaim your schedule and focus on what truly matters. Get your time back with elite remote talent without a time zone hassle. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Schedule your free strategy call at wisevas.io.
So I want to kind of obviously dig into a little bit of that business, but I know you haven't always been in this particular business. So let's rewind a little bit. It's my understanding that you've done some phenomenal expedition based leadership training. I want to learn a little bit about that and how you got into that.
Yeah, for sure. I had a career in outdoor education, leading wilderness expeditions around the world, focused on teaching personal growth and development, leadership, environmental studies, mostly with one company, the National Outdoor Leadership School, NOLS. They're based in Lander, Wyoming, but have operations around the world. And I've been fortunate to lead expeditions. I think I've led over 2,000 days of expeditions on six of 7 continents. So that was my first career, and loved I like to say I love every minute of it. Sure, there's lots of challenging times. We talk about challenging and living through adverse situations. Tolerance for adversity and uncertainty was a common theme in those expeditions. But there's no better way to teach leadership, I find, than being in the wilderness, where the impact is immediate, whether it's a conflict resolution or whether it's dressing inappropriately and freezing. So the wilderness was my classroom, and I loved every minute of it.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. So as a former military guy who spent his time outside doing crazy expeditions across the mountains of Afghanistan and various other places, there is no better place to learn leadership than trying to learn how to thrive in crazy environments. So kind of walk me through some of how that would work. Like, what does an expedition look like? How do you kind of train some of this leadership? What are some of the key principles that you are teaching them? And then I want to add to that as well, is that after you're done teaching that, how do you then help them apply that to business, life, and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I go into that, mad respect for you and the services. And, we've had lots of rainy, cold, freezing days, lots of injuries. And as bad as it gets wherever I am in the world, like 25 days of straight rain in Alaska, I think, you know what? at least I'm not being shot at.
So, that's the thing that keeps me going in business. I'm like, I ain't getting shot at. Nobody's dying today. It's okay.
There's already somebody worse off. So I appreciate your time and your service for sure. So with Knowles, with the National Outdoor Leadership School, it's a standard where I worked with most times. Their expeditions are pretty long. So they range, a lot of them are kind of almost a month long, 25 to 28 days. And then some are 3 months long, full semesters. And we'll take a group of students that don't know each other. And again, this could be adult groups as well, but majority is probably college age. And they'll sign up for typically a backpacking course or a mountaineering, glacier mountaineering, or a sea kayaking, or whitewater canoeing, or horsepacking. Got a bunch of different elements. And they would, if they were doing a standard course, they would say do a month of sea kayaking in Alaska, and we would meet them at our base in Alaska. We would prep for a couple of days. I generally would meet my co-instructors only maybe 2 days before I met my students. So a lot of times we're getting to know each other real quick because we work for the same company. It's probably similar to the military. You've got the same lingo and you can gel pretty quick, and you've got the same structure, and things kind of flow pretty good. And we have a support staff at those bases that help us get ready for the expeditions. They provide all the maps and everything laid out. But once you're on an expedition, it's like it's almost like running a business. It's free for you to do what you want. You know, our expeditions are long enough that it's like they drop us off here and they say, we're picking you up here, and go have an incredible month. And, you know, here's a standard curriculum we want you to be teaching on the expedition. So we might be paddling all day, kayaking around incredible wildlife in Alaska, tidal water glaciers, you name it. And then we'll get to camp, and then we'll do a formal class. We'll sit around in a circle on our air mattresses or our pads or whatever, our chairs, and we'll have a formal class on effective feedback, how to give and receive effective feedback. And then 2 days later, lo and behold, in the student cook group, they might be having some situations, and they've actually, I remember that class from 2 days ago. I got some feedback for you. And now I'm going to be able to give it to you effectively instead of like yelling at you. Whereas, other classes that we'll teach in that setting are conflict resolution, decision-making, leadership styles, all these classes. And then they just find their way to work themselves into daily life when you're on these expeditions. Whereas, students, and even an MBA program, you might do like a management course in an MBA program, and it might be 5, 10, 20 years down the road until you're actually in senior management or, C-suite levels to use some of that stuff. And so this way it's learning by doing. It's experiential education. And I always say, like, on these courses, that the test comes first and the lessons come later. And the test is the course, and the lessons, they say when you leave a course, then you're ready to do a course. One of these things. And so these lessons, from these expeditions stay with people throughout their life. It's, being that long immersed in the wilderness with a small group of people, it's a life-changing experience for just about everybody involved. And they certainly do transfer. They think, wow, like, this is a really hard day at work, but at least I don't have to like cook your dinner tonight and sleep next to you in a tent. I can get to go home.
Yeah, I would imagine that especially when you're able to apply it, you look at conflict resolution and, providing constructive feedback and all of that is going to be very necessary when you're out, 2 weeks in and you're like, hey, like, you're really not pulling your weight here. Like, you got to figure out really well how to say that. So as folks are, what sort of individuals are usually going on these expeditions? Are they businessmen? Are they college students? What sort of folks, or I should say business leaders, men or women, or are they, college folks? What's your typical person that you saw on those?
Yeah, it's a lot of college students is probably the core. I'd say probably 70% of the expeditions I've led. And a lot of them, this Knowles is it's not a hood in the woods program. It's meant for people that want to be leaders, want to be, leaders in their own life and in their business and in their work environment. Some of them come on because they want to get into the guiding industry. And this is a great way to, build your resume if you want to become a guide someday or work in the industry. But also the majority of them are, college students that are looking for a fun way to take a semester, looking to get some college credit for a course, looking for a fun summer program. Some of them, are not lost, but like, need some time away, probably from their current life, their current community to explore and take some time to think about their future and what they want to do in the future. Others are, really, great athletes that haven't had a chance to take a month away because they've been competitive athletes their whole, youth. And so, really motivated people that are excited to take on the world and really spend some time in an incredible, beautiful wilderness environment with some amazing people. The adult programs that we do some customized executive programs where we'll, a lot of senior executives, and so we'll tailor the curriculum a bit more to what they're seeing in the business environment. We do custom courses for Google. We've done courses for NASA for years, for over a 10-year period. All the NASA astronauts that would be going in the space shuttle will come on a custom NOLS course for 2 weeks, whether it was winter backcountry skiing in Wyoming, sea kayaking in Alaska, doing the canyoneering in the canyons in Utah. They found that NASA was, they get the best training in the world. And then they go live in a capsule for 2 weeks or a month or 6 months, but they've never spent more than 24 hours together in all their training in Houston or wherever they're doing it. And so they found that going on these expeditions was very valuable in terms of taking that unit's going to be up in the shuttle and bringing them on an expedition. And so they have that chance to be sleeping shoulder to shoulder before they get up there.
Yeah, that's I would have never guessed, but that's really cool. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So if you look back at it, what are some of the key leadership principles that you would say, or maybe even that you heard after some of your clients left? Maybe you heard from a year or 2 years later, and they come back to you and say something. What were some of those key things that folks were like, that is what I really was able to grasp a hold of for my real life leadership?
Yeah, I think two big ones that come up to me are, and this is general in all of it, is role modeling. If you're a leader, you got to role model the behaviors you want. They are looking at you. It's like, the classic saying, even with parents, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And they're watching every move. I remember in a backpacking expedition in Alaska, and I think we'd had like 12 days of rain, drizzle rain, hadn't seen the sun in days. And we're carrying on like it's everyday normal. And I think some of the students were starting to get pretty drowned down. And this was actually an educator group. So it was a group of teachers that were looking to teach outdoor education in their programs. And they were like, does this weather not bother you guys? And we're like, well, what weather? What are you talking about? And we carried on, and it's like, I can't let it get into my head that it's bothering me. Like if I'm down in the dumps and be like, oh, it's raining again today, just those little things that they're going to pick up on that energy, and then they're going to dive deeper. I'm like, no, it's like, what are we going to do about it? We're having a great time out here. You just keep your wet stuff wet and keep your dry stuff dry. Don't get your sleeping bag wet, and you'll be good to go. Like we're having fun out here. We're not, it's not impeding the curriculum. Sure, it'd be nice to see the sun, but like, I can't control that, so let's carry on. So role modeling is huge, and then the other one is, especially on these expeditions, like we just talked about beforehand, was the tolerance for adversity and uncertainty. I think any leader that can, has a good grasp and a good management for tolerance for adversity and uncertainty, that's going to take them a long way. It's like the first curveball you get, if you crack, then you're in trouble. And you know this, obviously, being in the military and then being a business leader yourself. And so, and when those curveballs come, you just, you catch it and you figure out a way to work around it, and you carry on. And there might be a couple sleepless nights here or there might be a couple lost ways here and there, a couple pivots, but it's part of the game, and it's coming. If you're in a leadership position, eventually you're going to have that tolerance for adversity.
Yeah, or you're not going to be in a leadership position very long, right? You have to be able to work that. And, and I think that one of the things you mentioned, just having that rain around you all the time, there are two things that popped in my head is if you're just used to that being around you, because chaos is always going to be around you, then it doesn't matter. It's like asking the fish if the water's warm. They don't even know what water is, right? That's just what's around them, right? And also, to go back to the other thing, it's like, hey, when the storms come in your business, you can look back and go, yeah, I couldn't control those storms. I may not be able to control this one, but I can get through it. And that's all that really matters, is being able to get through that. So I love that. So now that you're moving on to, let's move on to what you currently have going on. So you've got Schooley Mitchell, and I'm positive you're taking a lot of the leadership that you were already applying before. And it sounds like, if I remember correctly, you acquired this business. Is that right?
Yeah. So Schooley Mitchell, as a whole, is set up as a franchise system. It's not your typical franchise. It's not a brick and mortar. It's not a food services. It's more of an accounting firm. It's more of a law firm in that style. So we're all consultants that have our own businesses. Usually we're owner operators, usually home office based, and we work with businesses throughout the U.S. and Canada. We don't have any territories. Essentially, every business, every nonprofit, every government organization could be a potential client of mine. So it's not like you get the east side of this town and you can't step over that boundary because you'll be encroaching in their territory. There's more than enough potential clients throughout North America for us than we could ever imagine. So Yeah, it's neat. It's so I bought it just about a year ago now, and yeah, love it. Love it. I did a deep dive in franchising. Actually, I kind of got on the path of this at the GoBundance Austin Summit last year, and I heard
Very cool.
Brian Beers speak. You might know him. He's quite
Oh yeah,
prolific GoBundance bro, and in the franchising, well, over 30 franchises he has himself. And so when I heard him speak, that kind of had a light bulb moment for me of like, maybe I should take a deep dive into this and look more into it. And then I found Schooley Mitchell through a franchise consultant, and haven't looked back.
Awesome. So as you're working with clients and you're looking at things, you're saying, all right, well, my goal is to save you money. My goal is to help you kind of cut some of your costs out. What are some of the key ways, some of the top things that you have found inside of businesses that they're just ignoring, and you're able to come in and kind of help them figure that out?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have operating costs. And so people are getting really excited. They want us to deal with their core costs they're spending so much money on. It's like, well, no, most core expenses are staffing, leasing, things like that. We cover the kind of the side costs that really creep up because they don't have time to notice it. So like kind of our big four that we spend a lot of time on are merchant service fees. So credit card fees that people are paying every month. Shipping is a big one. So small package shipping, less than truckload shipping, kind of under 150 pounds, above 150 pounds, 150 to kind of 15,000 pounds. Those shipping, telecom, and telecom is our foundation. That's where our company was founded 30 years ago, was on telecom. And telecom encompasses everything from cell phones to security cameras to all your internet to voice over internet. So quite a few categories within that, subcategories within that big category. And the other one, surprisingly, is waste management. So dumpsters, recycling, hazardous waste, medical waste, all that waste. Those are our big core ones. Other ones fringe ones are compressed gases. We use a fair bit of uniforms and linens, things like that. And so those are the big categories that we find. We have other kind of smaller ones, but most of our business comes through those categories where people don't have the time to spend on the hold. We publicize that we save people money. We're a cost reduction, but we could advertise just as much as we're a time reduction. We save people time, and a lot of business owners are like, "That's great. I hopefully I'll be able to save some money, but I just don't have 2 hours to call Verizon and negotiate my telecom bill again."
For sure. Yeah, and time is money. So regardless of how you look at it, that's where you're at. So I think when a lot of people think of delegation, they think to themselves, okay, well, I'm delegating to somebody inside of my business to be able to do some of this stuff. But to me, you have to be able to think of delegation on all sorts of different levels. And this would be delegating some of this work to you guys, experts, folks who know how to do all of this. So if I bring you into my company and I delegate this to you and I say, hey, I just don't have the time or effort, what does the process look like when I pass this off to you? How does this process go?
Yeah, that's great. And often we'll talk to people and like, oh, I really need you guys because I've delegated that to my assistant for the last 3 years and it's never got up her list, and it's still on her list to call. And then it's not just, we're not just doing this because we have the time to do it, but our big cost, our competitive advantage is that we have 30,000 past businesses we've worked with. So we have the data to know what everybody else is paying, essentially. I'll often ask people like, hey, they're like, yeah, we've got someone that we have a procurement department that does all this. And we're like, okay, great. But do you know what your competitors are paying? I'm like, I have no idea. Do you know what the benchmark base price is in your community for that service? No, I have no idea. I'm like, well, we have that information. And so it's not just something to delegate, is you're delegating, like you mentioned, to experts that are doing this every day. And so our process is kind of a two-step process. It's fairly simple. We do what we call a no-cost audit. And so up front, there's no fees, there's no risk. Once we bring you on, you decide you want to move ahead, you sign a service agreement, basic service agreement that we're basically you're agreeing that we're going to do this work for you, you're going to provide the information. And so the information we need is generally 3 to 12 months of your invoices for that category. If it's a seasonal business, we'll generally ask for 12 months. If a golf course in Canada, we don't want your waste invoices for January, February, March. So we'll ask for 3 to 12 months of those invoices, and we'll spend kind of 6 to 8 weeks analyzing those invoices, looking for making sure you're on the right plan in terms of obviously if it's waste, how many dumps you're having, if it's telecom, the right plan you're on. So we'll ask for that. We'll look for any errors, any omissions. In that stage in shipping, we've often gone back over 2 or 3 years and found that, on-time shipping, people, can get compensation if they're not delivered on time. well, how many times do they follow up to see if it was delivered at the right time? Like, no one's got time for that. And so we'll actually go back. We've recovered like thousands of dollars for businesses that have had shipments that were past due. And so we're looking for that in the audit. Once we've come across the audit, once we finish the audit, we've had a good look at the statements, then we'll start negotiating with your current provider, and we'll negotiate generally with 2 other competitors in that area to make sure you're getting the best rates. And so a lot of times, say merchant services, they'll do what we call a re-rate. And so your provider you have now will have a look at their rates and say, yeah, we can reduce these. And that service fee, we don't really need to be charging that anymore. We'll take that away. And then we'll go to 2 competitors and obviously use our leverage of each other, leverage off each other, but we'll obviously leverage off our database and what we know are the benchmark pricing, because we'll say, hey, we have 3 other clients that are paying this. Like, what are you going to do for us? We like to say when we work with vendors, they sharpen their pencil. When Schooley Mitchell calls, they sharpen their pencil because they want to keep us happy. And we don't take any commissions from any vendors. We want the lowest cost at the same service level for our vendors. And so we do this audit. And then once we come back to that, we come back with a value report, and the value report's going to say, hey, here's the savings we found. Or in a rare case, sometimes we find actually no savings. And then that's just a pat on the back. Hey, you're doing a great job. You guys have the lowest benchmark price. Carry on. Maybe we'll reevaluate in a year. If we do find savings, then we'll explain that to you, and then we'll ask you to sign it's generally a 3-year contract where you pay us 50% of the savings over the next 3 years. And then we analyze your invoices for the next 3 years. And so we take that totally off your plate. It's the epitome of delegating. If you've got that Verizon bill, you don't have to call Verizon around billing for the next 3 years, because we take care of all of that for you. You don't have to think like, oh, I got to look at those invoices. Where is that again? We monitor those. And if there's any creep, if there's any invoice changes, any errors, we pick all that up. And then we're also monitoring the market over the next 3 years, and so adjusting that with you.
Man, that sounds awesome. How integrated and what sort of things should the team expect? Like if I'm coming in, obviously I've got to give you all these documents, but what sort of effort do I have to put on my side if I bring you in there? Because again, I'm delegating this because it's something that I don't really want to deal with a bunch of time of. But at the same point, I know that anytime you delegate something, there's there's upfront things that you have to do. So what sort of I know you mentioned the billing 3 to 12 months, that sort of thing. So how many meetings do we have to have? What sort of things do we have to make sure that's going on over that time?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Our goal obviously is money saving and time saving. So we don't want to make this laborious on you at all. We also know that it's not just data in this world, it's relationships. And so we will have a meeting and say, okay, talked about your waste provider. Let's use that as an example. And so we'll do what we call fact finding. So we have your invoices, great, but then we'll say, hey, what do you like about your current vendor? Do you really like them? Do you not like them? Do they know you? They're your cousin. Okay, that's good information to know. Or I actually hate them. Their service is bad. Or, I've been wanting to get rid of them for years. Or I have a penalty I have to pay. And so we do this fact finding and find about relationships, because sometimes that is sensitive and on that. But yeah, once you sign a service agreement, you sign a letter of authorization allowing us to represent you to the provider. And providing those documents, it's really not much else. You kind of sit back and let us do our work, and then we'll present it to you.
Okay. So what does the team look like on your side? What is your kind of role in this versus what does your team look like that is doing other things?
Yeah. So as the company owner, Schooley Mitchell owner, I work more on customer acquisition, customer relationships, customer service throughout the whole process. I collect the documents from our clients, and then I pass them off to the specialist at our head office, the specialist analyst. And so, say merchant services, for an example, we have a department of merchant service analysts, and that's all they do long is analyze merchant service statements. And so they know them inside out. Having 16 plus categories, it's hard for me to be an expert on every category and to do that analysis myself. And so they're working their own categories, and that's about it. Yeah, it's me and the analysts that work hand in hand. Obviously, we have administrative staff in our head office that organize all the franchises and our conferences and things like that. But I really work hand in hand with the delegates, the analysts. And once we have that value report, when we present that to you, it'll be myself and the analyst on the call with the client. And we'll go through sometimes the value reports, like 7 or 8 pages. And it's basically just explaining everything we've done. Generally, we'll give you 3 options, an A, B, and C option, and we'll recommend one of them, but you're happy to go with whatever one you want. We look at it as if I gave you $10, would you give me $5? The nice part about this is that it pays for itself. People can't say I can't afford it. It's like, you don't need to afford it. It pays for itself. It's not a widget.
Yeah, and that's always a great thing when you're coming in as a consultant, to be able to say, no, I'm getting paid from the savings. I'm getting, it's almost like some of those lawyers that are like, I only get paid if we win the case type of stuff, right? Like, we save you money and that's where we get paid. So I think one of the benefits about the structure of a franchise is that it's kind of already built in some of that delegation, some of those roles already kind of set up for you. Have you found that to be similar in your case with this particular franchise, and how, you've ran other businesses before, you've done all of this, like, having some of that structure, has that been something that you could say is a key to the success of your business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really nice. Yeah. Having started other businesses before, and even whether it's graphic designs or the marketing side of it, redoing your LinkedIn profile, they're like, oh, we'll connect you with our professional LinkedIn copywriter. And I'll have a meeting with them, and they'll work on your LinkedIn profile for you. I'm like, oh, really? It's like, oh, you need some graphic design for that event you're doing coming up. Like, boom, we'll do some of that. Oh, you got a PowerPoint coming up. You're doing this presentation. Like, let's work with that together, and we'll help you out with that. So all that stuff is taken care of. The accounting department helps us with our billing and just kind of monitoring all that through QuickBooks. And yeah, it's nice. And then, we have a franchise conference every year where we all get together. There's over 300 of us now, and share our war stories and tips and tricks and things that are working well. And so, yeah, it's really nice to have that support. I actually just started a franchise Facebook group for franchisees. I guess trying to take a bit of a leadership role there. It's sometimes you're pigeonholed a little bit in franchising in terms of leadership, but it's great because you don't want to be in a silo, in any business. And sometimes, it's hard knowing there's other people out there doing it, but you don't have regular contact. And so having those groups is really nice to bounce things off of each other, because, especially in franchising, you should never be reinventing the wheel, because most of it's all been done before, and it's just trying to kind of learn off those before you and pass along your experiences to others coming up now.
So if you were to talk directly to some of those leaders, those managers that are hearing this podcast right now, and they're like, hey, I don't really know, what are some of those key points that you need to be able to pass to them to let them hear, like, hit their eardrum, smack them in their face and say, okay, I totally need to figure this out, right? Because part of being a good leader is knowing when you need to execute. Part of being a good manager and delegator is knowing that you need to let some of these things go and how to do it. So what are some of the things that you want to be able to tell these leaders, these managers that are listening to this, like, okay, this is why you need this team right here?
Yeah. We say on average across all our categories, we save about 28%. And then when people think down and think like, well, how much is it going to how much effort and cost is it going to be to increase your profit by 28%? That's a lot of work. It's like, there's two ways to make money in business. You can spend more, or you can save more, or you can sell more. And when you bring us in, like, the saving more is the easy part. Like, obviously it's challenging to sell more, always sell more. And that's where most people are focused, because they don't know how to do the savings, or they don't have the time, or they don't think it's significant enough. But, it's money going out the door. I think most business leaders do know that they're probably overpaying for these operating costs, and it's easy to have them fixed. We think of, you'd like to hire another employee, it's pretty tight, can't hire. Well, sometimes the savings that we provide you will allow you to hire that next employee. It's amazing that those savings can really add up. And then we say it's a 3-year contract.
28% a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And then after 3 years, you take that on yourself, and you get 100% of the savings. We just found 84% savings on waste for a large tennis club, and they were shocked and embarrassed when we presented to them. They're like, "How did this happen?" And I think it's a case of one general manager's there for a couple of years, and then they leave. Another general manager comes in, and it just becomes a line item on the budget, and it just keeps getting passed on, and they add on 15-20% a year, but no one's monitoring that. And so they've been adding 20% a year, this waste company, for the last 5 or 6 years, and all of a sudden they're like grossly overpaying.
For sure. I try to tell folks, there's a book, Built to Sell, right? Where you're building your business to be able to sell it, right? And not everybody wants to build their business to sell it, but when you're looking at it in that light, at least, you're constantly thinking about, what is my valuation of my company? Where can it be? And when you can bring in some of these cost savings, and you're being a good leader inside of your company and saying, hey, I need to make these cost savings, it's not necessarily to make your net worth higher because your business is worth more, but when your business is worth more and is running more efficiently, you have a better opportunity to be able to sell it later. You have a better opportunity if somebody comes knocking on your door and is like, hey, we come from a large family office and would love to buy your business, whatever the case may be. If you're doing these things now and leading your company well now, like way better off in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned the waste management one, and it reminds me of one of my apartment buildings that we owned. We saved like $6,000 a year on something on our waste management thing. And when you look at the valuation on that at like a 6 or 7 cap, I mean, it's a massive difference in the value of your property by saving that annually. So I love what you're doing. That's a massive help for folks. So
yeah, real estate investors, commercial real estate is a great client. I work with a lot of them, and because it's easy savings for them. It's and you don't have time to drill down, especially if you have multiple properties.
Yeah. And especially when the owners aren't necessarily the managers, right? So the owner could just be the owner looking at a spreadsheet that the manager gives them and not really knowing whether or not they've done a good job of paying attention to that. So being able to delegate that to somebody like you to be able to say, hey, come help me audit all of this. And it doesn't make me be the ugly guy when I, as the owner, I'd be like, yeah, I'm just trying to save I didn't realize, and I could point at Shawn instead and say, it was Shawn's fault, not mine. I don't know.
Yeah. People are happy just to delegate the negotiating. They're like, I don't know if they're going to save anything or not, but I just can't talk to that guy anymore.
Yep, you're not wrong there. That's wonderful.
Sorry, I was going to say, I do work with some businesses, a couple of referral partners for me that their companies help businesses get ready for sale. So yeah, we definitely work with businesses for sale, and it definitely helps grow that EBITDA if you can find more savings. So yeah, happy to talk with folks in that area.
For sure. And that's one of those things you definitely want to do, not when you decide you want to sell, but a year or two before you want to sell, right? So come in early. I've looked at multiple businesses where the people finally decided 2 weeks before they put it up for sale that they wanted to make some adjustments. And that's not the best time to try to make adjustments. I can't buy based off what you did 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. Be wise about it.
A few years for that.
Very good. All right. Well, Shawn, if somebody's hearing this and they're like, boy, I totally want to reach out to Shawn and learn a little bit more about what he's got going on, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can reach me. I can give you my phone number. It's 613-884-7385. And you can reach us you can find me on the Schooley Mitchell website. I can spell that if it's easier. It's just SCHOOLEY Mitchell, MITCHELL.com. And then it's Shawn Stratton, SHAWN. So, you can find me there, and you can find my leadership stuff too out there. I did a TED Talk a few years ago, and that's findable.
All right. Yeah, well, I'll have to go listen to the TED Talk. That'll be a lot of fun to listen to. So, well, Shawn, it was awesome to get to chat with you, get to know you a little bit. I'm positive that you're doing some fantastic work for folks. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. And I'm definitely going to have to look up the TED Talk now. But, massive amounts of value that you're bringing to folks. And I thank you very much for jumping on and sharing it with the crew.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me today. It's been a lot of fun.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Please comment below. Let us know what your favorite part was. Let us know what you agree with, what you disagree with, where you would like to learn more. Again, reach out to Shawn if there's anything he can do to serve you. And please like, subscribe, and let us know what we can do to serve you best. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on the next show.